Last year, Intel achieved #1 spot on a corporate citizens list for a US-based magazine. Intel have a number of CSR corporate social responsibility initiatives. Samir Al-Schamma is here with us today to explain what some of those initiatives are. I'd like to introduce to you Samir Al-Schamma, General Manager, Gulf Countries, Intel. Thank you.
Samir, I'd just like to ask you, how do you define CSR?
Well, for us at Intel, CSR is how we can contribute to the communities that we work and live in. And we have a very strong passion about CSR in the whole corporation. We feel strongly about the fact that we can make a difference, especially through education. And the way we believe we can make the most difference is through technology and education, as being a technology company, clearly.
Can I just ask you, Samir, what CSR initiatives do you have in place for Intel currently?
We have several initiatives. Intel spends over $100 million a year on CSR education, especially in the education space. And one of the main programs there is teaching the teachers 21st century skills on how to be better teachers. Not necessarily teaching them IT, they would have had that, but once you know Excel and PowerPoint and PC, is how do you get your students to be more project oriented, how can they be more research oriented, and develop the 21st century skills. So that's one of the programs. Another program we have is more focused on the students, called the Intel Learn, which is teaching the students some of those skills. We also regularly volunteer hours in our communities. As a matter of fact, last year, as part of our 40-year anniversary with Intel, we committed 1 million hours worldwide. Here in the region, we committed to 1,000 hours. Volunteer hours by our own employees.
Now, Samir, with all these fantastic CSR initiatives, how do you link it back to your business?
In a couple of ways. In a strategic way, the work we do in the space of education and making sure that kids are ready for 21st century skills and that they have some of the necessary IT and engineering and science skills helps us as an industry in the long run, because right now there's a shortage of the type of engineers that we look for. So that's kind of in the long run. It also makes more people IT savvy, which means they'll be using more technology. That's also good for us. In the short term for us, it helps us in an indirect way. Our employees, when they volunteer hours, you feel much better about being part of the Intel family and making a difference, and that way the people are more motivated to come to work and make a difference. So that also helps us in a certain way.
So what partnerships or staff involvement have materialized out of your CSR projects?
I'll talk about the local activities that we've done. I talked initially about the Intel Teach program, which is a worldwide program. About 5 million teachers have been trained worldwide. Locally, we have reached about 600,000 teachers. And we've signed a partnership with the Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Foundation to extend that to 2 million teachers in the Arab world. And that's obviously something that we're very proud about. The first fruits of this collaboration now already kicked off. As a matter of fact, last week we announced starting in Palestine with teaching teachers, which is one way of helping, of course, in the region. This is all part of our collaboration with the Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Foundation. We're going to other countries like Egypt, Jordan, and so on. Regionally, as part of the TEACH program, we already are involved in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Tunisia, and a few other countries. So that's in terms of some of the partnership. In terms of the staff, we've also locally volunteered, as I mentioned, 1,000 hours, volunteer hours, to an organization called INJAZ Al-Arab. INJAZ Al-Arab is an organization that is focusing on training the youth on company skills or business corporate skills. And so we all are participating there by going to the schools and training the students. We have an initiative called the Middle East Digital Transformation Initiative, where we're basically working to make sure that we are ready for the 21st century and the knowledge economy. And it's focused on several pillars. One of it is education, one of it is entrepreneurship, others is about getting connected and getting people connected and getting access to PCs as well. Here, as part of what we're doing with the Intel Teach and the Intel and the work with the INJAZ, we're really focusing on the part where it's helping develop competencies in IT or entrepreneurship skills with some of those high school students, and all of that basically helps build up the capabilities in the region.
Okay, now I understand that there's one project that you're really passionate about and that you're a regional board member, and that's INJAZ Al-Arab.
Correct.
Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, INJAZ Al-Arab is actually part of a worldwide organization called the Junior Achievement Program, and what they do is they take volunteers like us, corporate members, and we go to different schools, high schools and colleges, and work with the students there on giving them hands-on experience on work life. So what we do is, over a period of the school year, we work with them on literally setting up a company, defining a product, selling stocks, actually producing the product, selling it, and then liquidating the company, taking it through all the cycles that a company would go through. And it's amazing to see the transformation that students go through from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. I personally am been involved in that for 3 years now. This year I was working with Mohammed bin Rashid School on again what we call a company program, and the students there decided to set up a company to fulfill a need in the school, which was the need for lockers. So they actually sold stock, raised the funds, went and bought lockers, and went ahead and then sold them in the school, basically rented them to fellow students, and actually broke even. They even were a bit cash positive. And to see the students from how they started and how they ended, and then at the end of it, when we got to the national competition and they presented their company, and in fact I'm quite proud of the fact that we actually won the national competition. So the class that I coached really was the one that was picked. It was a very innovative idea, and the team really knew what they were doing. So it's very rewarding at the end to see where they have gotten to, and the fact that you made a difference in the lives of 30 students every time you go and do that. This will stay with them for life. If I look at myself, when I graduated from college, I barely could do a PowerPoint presentation, stand there and present something. And you look at those kids, they stand there in front of a panel of judges, presenting a company, talking about it with passion, and presenting it like as if they're presenting to investors. Just, you have to be there to really appreciate that.
What would you advise SMBs when they're putting together their CSR plan?
I think there's a lot that could be done. I think there's a misconception. People think that only large corporations like Intel could go and do some of those CSR activities, but the reality is it's the SMBs where they can really make the difference.
So, Samir, how could an SMB get involved in the INJAZ Al-Arab program?
Very simple. They have a website. It's www.injaz-arabia.org. That's one way of participating. Just go to the website. Every country, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, Palestine, Tunisia, they all have a chapter, a local chapter there. They would be thrilled to hear from you.
So they would just go online and they would find the information.
You can find the information. Basically, then what the INJAZ, local INJAZ people would then come. They would come to your company, train your staff on how to give this course to the students, and then help facilitate that with a local school. And then all the volunteer has to do is spend a couple hours a week at a local school, spending the time with the students, depending on how much time they have through the year. And at the end, they would have made a difference in the lives of 30, 60, 100 students a year.
How many hours do you think it would involve for a volunteer?
It depends. With INJAZ Al-Arab, they have shorter volunteer opportunities, which is just 1 day. Or the one I described that I was part of was for the whole school year. It was basically a period of about 5 months. Every week or second week, we go and spend a couple hours at the school.
So it's sort of a couple of hours every week or every second week was enough to put this together?
It's amazing how far those kids got with just a couple hours a week, yes. It's